Hey everyone, this is the first video in a build log of a HTPC. This build is actually for myself, but it's an example build, a demo build for customers. Okay, so I'm going to have a good look at each of the components before I install them into the system. The minor components, I'll just talk about the specifications briefly and give you a quick look. But the power supply, the motherboard and the video capture card, I'm actually going to do a quick review on, and I'm going to integrate them into the build log. The motherboard, there will also be a separate review on. Check that out on my channel. I'll put a link up on the screen. So the hardware that I'm using is, the motherboard is going to be the Zotac Z68-ITX Wifi Supreme. This case fits two 120mm fans in the front, so I'm using Enermax TV Silence red LED fans. They're 120mm by 25mm. You can see they've got the batwing blades. They've actually got removable blades for cleaning. You can just pop them out. Metal frame, pretty sure that's aluminium. Just a quick look at the specifications on the back of the box. So you can see that the fans run at 14 decibels, extremely low noise, which is what was most important for this build. I wanted them to look nice, have red LEDs to shine through the smoke black case. For the CPU, I'm using the Core i3-2100. I just thought I'd take the opportunity to give you a quick look at the Core i3-2100 socket 1155 CPU that I'm using. So just to look at the back of it. Now looking at the socket. So there we go. For the power supply, I'm using the Silverstone small form factor 450 watt. Okay, so now just taking a look at the power supply. Just a quick look at the back of the box. So you can see that the power supply has an 80+ bronze certification. Okay, so with the power supply, you get a power cord, you get a user manual and information. You also get this conversion bracket to ATX. So from the small form factor that the power supply is to a normal ATX power supply. Also, you get 4 cable ties and the necessary screws. So you've got a choice there of screws or thumb screws. So I guess the thumb screws are for the bracket and the screws are to mount the bracket onto the case. Okay, now for a look at the power supply itself. So you can see the 80mm fan. That side you can see some ventilation holes up here, some specifications on the top. On the back you can see you've got a on-off switch, plenty of ventilation, blank on that side, a little bit of ventilation up here but mostly blank on the inside of the power supply. So just a quick look at what cables there is now. So you also get this Velcro tie. Okay, so we've got 24 pin motherboard power, 2 4-pin Molex and a floppy drive connector, 3 SATA power connectors. For PCI Express there's a 6+2 pin and also another 6 pin. So you can certainly run quite a decent graphics card off this power supply. There's also a 4+4 pin EPS CPU power connector. For memory, I'm using 2 4GB sticks of Corsair. Alright, just a quick look at the memory. So I was a bit unhappy that the motherboard that I'm using uses sodium memory, but for a build like this it's really not going to matter a whole lot. I really don't need extreme performance for this build. So they're 4GB sticks of DDR3 1333 MHz, and it's Corsair, so it's got a limited lifetime warranty, which is great. Okay, so now just having a quick look at the HD TV tuner that I'm using in the build. I'm using a VideoMate Vista E900F. The main reason why I picked this one is because, well, I've used them before in the past, but it actually has scheduled boot up recording. Now for a look at what's included in the package. So we have a startup guide, a drivers and software disc, unled DVD Movie Factory 5, a Windows Media Center remote, and it also works with the included Compro DTV software, an FM radio antenna, because this also tunes into FM radio, a single coax TV cable converter to dual, that looks like 3.5mm to some kind of RCA connector. This is the infrared receiver for the remote control. That is a satellite TV converter, I think, so from satellite to the normal coax TV aerial connection. A couple of batteries for the remote, a 6-in-1 audio converter, so it goes from whatever that is to all of these. This is an auxiliary out audio connector, and this is for the scheduled power up recording. Also a low profile bracket. Alright, so just a quick look around the device. So I won't go into extreme detail on it. You can see the connectors on this side. This is for scheduled boot up recording. It actually connects to the front panel connectors on your motherboard, to the power button header on the motherboard. Okay, so a look at the connectivity. So it has dual high definition TV tuners. So we've got TV1 and TV2 radio aerial. That's for the included audio visual cable. That is for the infrared receiver for the remote control. So it has a PCI Express ×1 connector. I haven't yet confirmed what I'm going to be using for storage, but I'll certainly be using at least one Western Digital Green 2TB drive, possibly two, and also possibly an SSD. For peripherals, I'm going to be using a Logitech K400 wireless keyboard with a touchpad so that I can sit on the couch and use it. Alright, so there it is. So it uses the 2.4 GHz wireless bandwidth. It has about up to 10 meters range. It uses a Logitech unifying nano receiver. It's a very small keyboard, so you can see by the size of my hand. Now, the case that I'm using, it's obviously partially assembled, is the Danger Den LAN 450 watt. Alright, so here's the case, how I received it. It's all packaged up. So included with the case is all the necessary panels, this back panel assembly, all the necessary screws, standoffs, power button, screws, nuts and bolts, motherboard standoffs, wires for the power button. This is actually a handle for the top of the case, which was an optional accessory that I decided to go for, just to make it easy to move around. Not that it's not easy to move around, because it's extremely small, as you can see in the user manual. Also, you get some gloves to stop all the fingerprints, I guess. So quite easy to follow user manual with pictures. Alright, so it's time for me to get this thing assembled. So you can see I ordered the case in smoked black. It wasn't actually on the list. I had to email them to specially order this particular colour. So I've got 3 of the panels put together. I've got the back panel, the back side panel and the bottom. So this is one of the front panels which holds the fans, and then the other front panel acts as the fan grill and finishes it off. So that's what the front looks like there. This here is the top. So the rest of the panels are just sitting underneath, just there. So there's still 3 of them under there, which I haven't peeled the protective coating off yet. So all the screws, nuts and bolts are numbered, and then you've got it all mapped out on the instructions. So I've got the case right up to the point now where I can start installing the hardware, including the fans. So this is as far as I can go. Now I need to install every single bit of the hardware, and then the rest of the panels can go on. So you can see that the motherboard is actually upside down in this case. The expansion slots are at the top. There's the power button, it's on the back of the case. Power supply goes at the bottom, plenty of ventilation in the back. Now looking inside the case. So it fits the ITX motherboards. You can see the nice big cutout behind the motherboard there. So that's where the fans mount. 2 120mm fans. Or optionally, when you're ordering the case, you can change them for 80mm fans. You can also optionally fit 2 USB 2 ports and front panel audio, headphone and microphone jacks when you're ordering the case from Danger Den. So it fits small form factor power supplies. That's the ventilation hole for the power supply, and you can see some threaded holes there for mounting hard drives. Now looking from the front of the case. So the next step, once I put those fans in, will be to bolt the actual front panel onto the case, the grill. Looking from the top, you can see there are 3 holes where the handle can be mounted. I really love the material. Excellent high quality, so it's smoked acrylic. The edges are burred over, they're all curved, no sharp edges. Really nice little case, very happy with it. Just spinning it around so you can take a look at the back. Nice big cutout to access back plates. So those are the little holes where the rear side panel mounts on. So I've actually got it right next to my Corsair Obsidian 800D, so you can get an idea of the size of this thing. Looking from the front now. So that concludes part 1 of the build log. Part 2 will be finishing off the case and the installation of the hardware. Thanks for watching everyone. Please subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you want to see more.